project. Today we're pleased to announce the 7 station locations which the West Metro will be covering, and we also of course are doing further work to see whether 2 additional stations will be part of the Metro as well. This is a project that will slash travel times between the Sydney CBD and also Western Sydney here in Parramatta, and we know that if we want to deliver on our vision of 3 cities, we have to provide those transport links. The 3 cities being the Sydney CBD as we know it, the Parramatta CBD, and of course the new CBD around the new second airport at Badgerys Creek. This is an exciting time for Western Sydney. Never before has any government invested so much, and never before has the population been in a position where they can look forward to a future which busts congestion, improves the quality of life of all of the amenities in the local area, but also ensures that the Parramatta CBD accepts its rightful status as the second city in Greater Sydney. And I'm really pleased to be here with the Minister for Transport and also the member for Parramatta, Minister Lee, because we know how important it is for this project to be delivered. And if anyone has any doubt that this is going to happen, look at the North West Metro. Look at the metro we're building to Sydenham and Bankstown. Look at the M4 tunnels. The amount of people who say to me how excited they are that they spend 20 minutes less each way every day in traffic is fantastic. And we know that the projects we're delivering are making a huge difference in Western Sydney. They're slashing travel times. And it's of course not just the roads and rail, but the hospitals and schools which are really bringing to life the area in New South Wales which is experiencing the largest population growth. And who can blame people for wanting to live in Western Sydney? It is a place full of hope and aspiration, and now a place which can look forward to less congestion, great schools, public transport, and also great cultural and sporting institutions as well.
Well, this is the train line 3 million people in Western Sydney need, and it's one which is going to be the project of the decade. This is the biggest stage of the new metro network that the Liberals and Nationals have started to deliver, and we've seen the power of Metro Northwest. We're now going to build a rail tunnel between the city and Westmead, which is going to transform lives right across Western Sydney. Not just for those who live in the corridor between here and the city, but also those who live to the west. This is going to duplicate the T1 line. It's going to ease the pressure on rail and those challenging morning and afternoon peaks with a duplication that is going to change the way in which the city moves and is going to be the biggest stage of the 5 stages of Metro that this government has now embarked on. Not just 1 stage, but 5. Today we're announcing 7 station locations. This forms part of the finalisation of the business case for the project. As we will all remember, there was a couple of stations which were also assessed at this later stage with the Northwest project as well, which is why it's important, particularly with Pyrmont and Rydalmere, that they also form part of an ongoing assessment. Construction is going to start next year. We're going to see 10,000 people working on this project over the next 10 years or so. 70,000 indirect jobs created by the Metro project, and incredible interest in terms of new players into the Metro space here in Sydney as a result of us getting on with this massive build. We now have interest from the French through RATP and their partnership with John Holland. We've also got the existing provider of Metro, so it is going to be an incredibly dynamic rail project. It is going to transform the city, it's going to transform jobs, it's going to transform the entire state economy. Everybody right across New South Wales has an interest in ensuring that the economic impediment brought about by congestion is tackled, and this is one hell of a project to be able to do that. I'll stand over to Jeff Lee.
Thank you, Minister. What a great leap forward today is. It's going to cement Parramatta as the economic capital of Western Sydney. It's going to cement Westmead as the biomedical capital of Australia. It's about creating jobs. It's about linking people. It's about easing the pressure off the T1 Western Line. We already know it's full at the moment. The people of Western Sydney will be delighted when they have this extra capacity. I'm looking forward to it. Parramatta's looking forward to it. The people of Western Sydney are looking forward to it.
How much is it going to cost, Premier, and where's the money going to come from?
Sure, mate, I can respond to that. Sean, as with all the major projects, we don't reveal the final cost because we want to have competitive tension in the contractors market. There is multiple contracts with this project and we want to maintain the competitive tension in the same way we have with the City and Southwest project, where we're still yet to finalise and announce the final cost. It's really important. But the point that I would make is that we have seen around 60 kilometres of tunnelling built with the Metro Northwest and City project. The Metro City contract in terms of tunnelling is about $2.8 billion. This project is all underground. So, you know, we are going to go out to market. Importantly, what we will see is work start at the Bays precinct, because that's where we're going to start with the tunnelling, and ultimately we're going to have the tunnel boring machines back in the ground by 2022. The community will see EISs out next year, but there is a multitude of contracts. We're going to maintain competitive pressure, and the final price will be when that final contract is signed.
But how can the state afford a project predicted to be north of $20 billion?
Well, we've just delivered close to $20 billion of Metro, and I would point out, look at the Northwest. This government delivered that project $1 billion under the expected price tag. I mean, that is the discipline that we bring to this, and there is a lot of interest in participating in this build, and that's the exciting part. I mean, it is a 10-year profile. We don't need to find the money and pay for it in one hit. This is spaced out over 10 years. This is a government that's already delivered over $110 billion. We have $93 billion in the next 4 years. $56 billion of that is roads and transport, which is why, with a clear demonstration of delivery and managing the state's finances, that we can get on and profile this over a 10-year period. And that's exactly what we will do as a government, and we have that capacity because we're a government in surplus, and we're a government that manages the books well.
Will you be seeking federal government funding for this project?
Well, the point I'd make to the feds in relation to this project, this is the first stage of their east-west link to Badgerys Creek. And you know, ultimately, that $10 billion project is requiring a lot of rail investment alongside it. And you know, we've got a clear demonstration in terms of the link between the airport and St Mary's out of Badgerys Creek. But you know, ultimately, yes, it'd be great if the feds can look at this in the whole context of the expenditure around rail to the airport, and recognise that the government is getting on in New South Wales. We can go it alone, but we're gladly going to accept any assistance that they can bring to the table in relation to this project, as we would with most rail projects.
So when do you
the
expect
second
it to
stage
open?
of the light rail will
Sorry?
be built? Can you guarantee the second stage of Parramatta light rail will be
So I'm going to go to Liz. I'll take questions online, but this is Metro.
When did you say you expect it to be open?
Look, we're going to have this open by 2030. So it's a big project. You know, there's a lot of work that's got to be done, a lot of tunnelling. There is going to be 2 integrated station development sitting alongside this project here in Parramatta and the CBD. But you know, here's some of the wow factors in relation to this project. The travel time between Sydney Olympic Park and the city is going to be 14 minutes. Think about that change in terms of our major sporting precinct for the state. Ultimately, in terms of, as Jeff touched on, Westmead. Westmead is going to be a major interchange point because of the connection between Westmead and the T1 line, in the same way that North Strathfield will be a key connection point with the T9 line. You know, it is a major change in the way in which this city will move. And, you know, the travel times are going to bust anything we've seen before.
By that point, how much pressure will the T1, by that point in 2030, how much pressure will the T1 be under?
Well, this is why the government has been investing $4.3 billion through the More Trains, More Services. We've put an extra 1,500 services on the T1 Western Sydney line, the T2 Western Sydney line, because of the growth. But it gets to a tipping point by 2030. You can't get people on trains, which is why this has to be built, and it has to be built in this way, because it is a train line for 3 million people in Western Sydney.
Why is it later though than the completion? Why is it, you said 2030?
By 2030. By 2030.
Do you expect it, it could be earlier?
Well, it could be. I mean, we've seen, you know, the tunnelling on Northwest was 10 months ahead of schedule now. So there's the proof in the pudding in terms of this. We're setting a realistic expectation, and as always, this government will set about bettering it. I mean, the thing that really stinks about this project is Labor had every opportunity to build it 20 years ago and walked away from it. And I've seen their silly press release this morning. They want to build a zigzag line through all of their seats. That's not what this project's about. This is about getting on and transforming the state economy, and also changing lives for 3 million people in Western Sydney.
Given the cost,
the acquisitions will be and what's the split between residential and commercial?
23 residential properties will be knocked on today and around 93 in terms of business. This is a project that's underground, and there's more residential properties which we've had to work on with Parramatta Light Rail than we have to do with this project. So it just demonstrates the power of the project. But again, if only governments generations ago had actually thought to protect rail and road corridors, we wouldn't be building over 100 kilometres of tunnel in this city as a result of some of those bad decisions made in the past.
Given the cost of this project, can you still pay for stage 2 of the light rail, Parramatta?
Again, just notice that other question. We've got to get on and we're going to build a bridge between Wentworth Point and Melrose Park. First step in terms of improving public transport, but we're getting on with building Parramatta Light Rail. That's happening right now. So again, I've made it clear we will continue to look at the advancements in technology, the best way to get people around. But one thing I will say is those people throughout this corridor are going to have their lives changed most definitely by Metro. This is the game changer. This is the big one. This is the one that counts. And if you look at the fact that we're going to see 420,000 people employed in this corridor over the next 10 years, an extra 300,000 residents, and then of course to the west, 3 million people. That's why we've got to get on and plough ahead with Metro quickly.
Where's the station in the CB?
To get this job done.
Yeah,
with all the other infrastructure projects happening at the same time.
Challenge to have.
You want to answer this question?
When are you expected to make
Just on a serious point, I mean, every infrastructure build, we are building skill centres alongside these projects. We have people who've been trained up to work on Metro through North West who are now working on other stages of Metro. We've built the skill base as we've developed the projects, and there's nothing more heartening than seeing a young Aboriginal man from Queensland, as we have, who's worked on the North West project. Everybody's now been skilled up, which is why we do have the workforce. And it's vital that we continue to build and not ever put a stop to this.
You're going to need a turn back for the Metro. What's the chance of Zeppelin being a potential turn back or another station?
Look, I mean, at the moment, we're working towards the business cases we've done and now complete. We've made it clear that there will be a city stop, and that's where ultimately we'll be examining a turn back. But, again, at this stage, 7 stations announced today. The travel times are incredible in terms of the city to Parramatta. And as part of that, we also design our turnbacks, and we'll look at the turnback design as we move through it.
Where's the Sydney stop?
So you're signalling that Zeppelin is pretty much off the cards?
No, I just said that we will look at the best way to do the turnback. But again, we will work with the market, we will work with the experts in this area and go from there. But I think anybody looking at the Metro City project to see the way in which that tunnelling is being undertaken and the fact that it'll be done by the first quarter of next year knows that we do need to make some decisions as we move through a project, and we've seen that with North West. There's 2 additional stations going to North West, which at this stage had yet to be finalised. And the same goes with Metro City. We hadn't made a decision in relation to Waterloo and Barangaroo, but we ultimately went that way. So, again, we will work through this project the same way we have with the others in that regard.
What do you say to those people who feel like they may have missed out on having a station near them? Is this the right route?
Well, look, I mean, again, the key element here is we want a travel time around 20 minutes between the 2 CBDs. Ultimately, we provide an integrated transport network which feeds people into Metro. We've seen that with the Northwest, we've seen it with the City and Southwest. So again, this is not just about the railway line, this is about the way in which you integrate transport into the network, and everybody will continue to have great transport to a Metro station.
Minister, value capture, what's the chance that you applying some form of value capture, a special levy on new apartments being built to help fund this project?
Well, again, I mean, the key element out of this is we've got the ability to finance this through the 10-year capital envelope for transport. Ultimately, we're not a government, ultimately that is going to go down the path of other jurisdictions, such as in the UK, where they've applied a betterment tax. We wouldn't do that. But we ultimately, again, will work with work within planning, and we'll work within transport. But at this stage, we've got the capital envelope with it.
Do you have a likely CBD site, and what's with these other Piermont and Rydalmere optional stations?
Look, certainly in terms of Piedmont, as the Premier said the other week, is going to be the western gateway to the city. And there is an extensive planning review which will be done fairly quickly in terms of Piedmont, and we're going to form part of that, which makes absolute sense. Rydalmere, again, consideration is being given. And likewise in terms of the CBD, we're working through the CBD location at this time. But ultimately, to Matt's point, we will look at the way in which we do the turn back and everything else. But the key element of this is a roughly a 20-minute travel time between CBD and Parramatta. And as part of that great plan of a 30-minute city, this is the type of transport project you need to achieve that. That's why we're getting on with it this way.
Just on value capture though, doesn't it make sense to apply some sort of mechanism? Because I mean, some people are going to become very wealthy from the decisions today about cycling stations close to their homes.
Well, again, I mean, this is not about generating wealth for people who might live near a metro station. This is about the city's development. And ultimately, I don't care. I mean, the people of Bega pay a cost for Sydney's congestion. It's the economic cost to the state, which is around $9 billion per annum at the moment. And that's the loss that congestion causes our productivity. And that affects the ability for government to shift resources right around New South Wales. So this unlocks value for everybody in this state. It's in everyone's interest to make sure that Western Sydney, as a powerhouse of the national economy, stays strong, and this is what this project does.
Premier, this project's been under a bit of scrutiny in terms of Minister Sidoti or former Minister Sidoti's property interests. Are you satisfied that the decisions you've made here are all above board?
Look, these decisions have been made by the experts in transport in New South Wales and Metro team that presented the case to government. We would never take a decision unless we thought it was the right decision. And of course, as you keep going down the path, we still have some stations we're looking at in terms of the exact alignment, and that will affect the precise alignment. This is a project that comes around once every generation, and we have our sights on delivering it as quickly as we can. If there's extra support from the federal government, it means we can potentially bring things forward. But this is a project that will change not just Western Sydney, but New South Wales forever. And not only will this provide, as the Minister said, a gateway for 3 million people to use the metro, but also it takes pressure off the existing Western line. So people who need to use the existing Western line will have a much better experience with less overcrowding and more room for growth. So this is a win-win for anybody who relies on public transport. But more importantly, this sends a very strong message to the community that in the future, to get around where you live or where you work, you won't need your car. You can rely on Metro or the existing rail network. And with the above-ground light rail, what we're building is exactly one public transport network. You'll have an interconnected system of public transport that will allow you to seamlessly go from one mode to the other. Something that was dreamed of decades ago, and we're actually delivering it.
Premier, have you ever had discussions with the former Sports Minister about the potential for a metro station in his electorate?
Never.
Premier, just on a separate matter, in national papers there's a campaign today about the right to know and press freedom. Just wanted to get your views. Do you support the campaign?
Oh, well, look, we appreciate as a government the need for journalists to be able to do their job, but remember New South Wales has taken a front foot through the Attorney General in relation to defamation laws. We're actually leading the nation in that, and I appreciate the concerns expressed, but for governments it's always finding the right balance, and I guess for the federal government they've got to worry about national security issues, which is really the question.
Are they becoming too secretive, the federal government?
Look, that's for them to answer. All I know is that New South Wales is leading the charge when it comes to defamation laws. Our Attorney General's actually been on the front foot, and we take pride in that.
Premier, Sydney's been announced as the host of World Pride in 2023. What's your response to that, and how important is that for the state's economy?
Oh, look, it's fantastic in terms of the state's economy. We're a government that goes after these major global events, and we look forward to the extra dollars it's going to bring to New South Wales.
Just one on Metro. Is Stable in the Yard going to be for the trains going to be on the University or what's coming down? Stable in the Yard.
Look, I'm not going to preempt this because we're going to knock on the doors of some people today in regards to this, but we do need to stable the facilities. I think anybody who's been out to Tullamarine will see the very nature of the stable facilities and the space that we required, and that would be a natural observation and a good site for something like that, I must say. Yeah.
Minister, has your colleague John Sidoti had any conversations with you about lobbying for a metro station in his electorate?
In terms of 5 Dock, no, but the point that I'd make is that 5 Dock was identified under Labor back in 2009 as an appropriate site for a metro station. There's nothing new in this. and ultimately we're advised by Transport and the Metro team on the best way to build this. And again, you know, $5 was identified a long time ago. So to that end, no, I haven't had any discussions in relation to $5. And as with this government, all appropriate declaration.
No Roselle site. Were you tempted to put in a Roselle site, given that's what Labor hoped to do many years ago?
Base precinct, which again, given the opportunity that base precinct in terms of its development is very, very exciting. So just to run through this, Sean, you know, we have Piedmont under assessment, base precinct, 5 Dock, Burwood North, North Strathfield, Sydney Olympic Park, Parramatta, Westmead. I mean, what an incredible rail project. And look at the time frames. As I said, 14 minutes from the city to Sydney Olympic Park, around 20 minutes to Parramatta. I mean, that is just going to, I mean, the travel times are remarkable. It's 48 minutes to Sydney Olympic Park from the heart of the city. We're going to take it down to 16 minutes. Think about the way that'll change the precinct, and it's why this government's going to get on with ANZ. I mean, the whole game change for the state sports precinct and major stadium is huge. So the uplift's there for everybody, and of course we're going to cater for residential, employment, and of course our recreation opportunities as a result of this project. I think it's already been asked.
Cool, thank you. Thanks everybody.
It's over there.
At least it's tough. Have options to go. 100%. We've got room to grow there. So if you've got extra people, you can stay right.
Is the base precinct the fish market?
No, it's White Bay. You know where the old thing was? Yeah, it's where.
The location in front of the location.
Exactly right.
Oh, that's
Video where we move the interim terminal.
That means we've got potential for growth.
That's perfect, right next to the bridge.
Yeah.
You go on it, you go, why didn't we do this years earlier?
We tried.
Yeah, no.
But Labor doesn't think wouldn't it be great if we could do a straight line? I mean, that'd be like half the time instead of having to go through there. If we did a straight line. That's potentially faster, so it's cheaper and faster. Yeah.
We don't want to cut Parramatta out
Where's
of
the
this.
corridor you announced last week, please? Announced it. Oh, okay. Sorry. I always
the
forget what we're about to. I always forget what we make decisions and I forget what we're announced. That's why I'm careful now at presses, because you know it all and you think, oh, have we seen that before? We don't want to say it for the first time now.
Wrong day.
Oh, yeah, maybe. It's the right colour for the bottle, by the way. Unlike me.
One would say that was an amazing coincidence.
Thanks, everybody.
We did it with the DJs in our park site. Council wisely.
Thank you.